Save up to 50% on your medicine bills. Ask your doctor or pharmacist if Pharmacodynamics has a generic medicine that's suitable for you.
Welcome back. We're paying special attention to heart disease in September, which is why we're talking about diabetes, one of the leading risk factors for cardiovascular disease. There's an explosion of diabetes worldwide, and developing countries like South Africa are the worst hit. The World Health Organization predicts that in South Africa, the numbers will triple in the next 15 years. Although all groups are affected, those most at risk are the black community, who are undergoing rapid lifestyle and cultural changes, and people of Indian descent who have a gene pool that makes them usually susceptible to diabetes. If you think that diabetes couldn't happen to you, think again. With various genetic factors influencing diabetes and our poor lifestyles causing a rapid rise in the prevalence of type 2 diabetes, we are all potentially at risk, and I put myself in that fold. In fact, research shows that 4 to 6 million people in our country have diabetes, and that most of these people are unaware that they have the condition. At 26, Richard was unaware he had the condition. What kind of symptoms were you having just before you actually had the diagnosis, Richard?
Well, to start with, it was a very gradual onset. So I started feeling really stressed at work, unable to cope with stress, and it was difficult to sort of pinpoint the factors or the origin of that symptom. But when it really hit home was when I started experiencing the extreme thirst that everyone sort of typifies with the diabetes symptoms. So,
and just describe extreme thirst to me. I mean, it's always wanting to drink, or
absolutely unrelenting thirst. I would drink quite easily 3 liters of water every day and 2 liters every night. At the time, I had a Camelback for my mountain bike, and I would nail it to my headboard of my bed full of water, so that I didn't have to get out of bed at night to keep drinking.
Regardless of what type of diabetes you might have, your cells aren't getting the glucose that they need, and your body lets you know by giving you these signs and symptoms. Excessive hunger, unquenchable thirst, as Richard has just explained, frequent trips to the bathroom, constant tiredness, and unexplained weight loss. I don't know if you've got that, which is great, Richard, but how did you react to that diagnosis, to hear you've got diabetes?
It was incredibly distressing at first. I had a progression from the pharmacy, where the pharmacist referred me to the doctor. The doctor confirmed the diagnosis, and at the same time sent me to hospital, to the emergency room. So to internalize that all sort of before lunch, from 9 o'clock till lunchtime, to suddenly be told from 3 different specialists that you have diabetes is a lot to take in.
Wow. Type 1 diabetes occurs when your pancreas stops producing insulin. It usually starts in young people under the age of 30, as it did in Richard's case, and people with type 1 must inject insulin just to survive. Type 2 diabetes occurs when there's not enough insulin, or if it doesn't work properly. Around 90% of diabetics are type 2. They're usually overweight, inactive, and over 40, but can be managed successfully without medication. So, Richard, what lifestyle changes have you now had to make to not compensate, but to live with type 1 diabetes?
Well, the immediate changes I made were dietary. So I cut out all refined sugars, refined carbohydrates. I learned about the low GI diet, and I made sort of cold turkey dietary changes. For a while after the diagnosis, I was a bit wary of exercise, but shortly after that, I realized that exercise is actually a very important part of controlling sugar levels in my case.
Tell me a bit about how you manage your blood sugar.
It's actually become really easy to manage your blood sugar levels these days. I've met diabetics from yesteryear who really struggled with the insulin that they use and the way of administering it. These days you get a tiny little syringe. They come in increments. My syringes are no longer than 5 millimeters long. You also learn...
You've got people here going, anything, any length, any needle, just no, but okay, 5 millimeters.
Yeah, it's fairly harmless. You learn to assess the food that you're eating. They call it carb counting. So you balance what you're about to eat with your blood sugar level pre-meal. So I'll test my blood sugars using that glucometer before I eat. And then depending on the level of the blood glucose that I'm sitting on, and also assessing or taking into account what I'm about to eat, I'll adjust my insulin dose.
A lot of people use diabetes as an excuse not to exercise, or I can't do that because I'm diabetic. But you're just the opposite. You're saying I actually need to exercise for my disease, and it benefits me, which it really does. In fact, you're an endurance athlete, 1,000 kilometers, from north to south in the UK. Fascinating stuff.
Thanks. Yes, I think in my case I've sort of learned empirically that I have to stay active. It's just such an immediate result. I feel the benefits for so long afterwards, and I really enjoy it. I was active before I was diagnosed. One of the reasons I was sort of distressed at being diagnosed was the fact that I was already fit and healthy at the time. I think a lot of type 1s probably share that predicament where you'd feel like you haven't sort of earned the condition, so you have to sort of you question your behavior. And for me, I did actually stop exercising for 6 months until I realized, no, hang on, exercise is part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Well, I said to you before the show, you are a poster boy for type 1, for any diabetics, in fact. So, Richard, thank you for being that example. If you were to tweet to the several million diabetics in South Africa, just to give them some encouragement and advice, and you had to limit it to just a single tweet, what would that tweet be?
Acknowledge that you have the condition and learn to deal with it and get on with life. You know, life goes on.
Thank you, Richard. That is such great advice. If you don't have diabetes yet, may I suggest you minimize your risk of getting it by doing the following. Exercise regularly. Work up a good sweat at least 30 minutes a day, most days of the week. Eat plenty of healthy fats, which actually reduces your risk of diabetes and heart disease. Cut back on sugary drinks and refined carbs, white bread, white rice, white pasta, you get the deal. And keep your weight in check. Being a healthy weight is the best thing you can do to lower your risk of diabetes. If you do have diabetes, like Larry King, Halle Berry, Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers, then take a leaf out of Richard's book, who's living proof that not only can you live your life with diabetes, you can actually live your best life with it.
Save up to 50% on your medicine bills. Ask your doctor or pharmacist if Pharmacodynamics has a generic medicine that's suitable for you.